Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into ancient Egypt, no sandals required. You're standing in a palace courtyard at dawn. The Nile's mist still clinging to the reeds, and the air already humming with the low buzz of cicadas and ceremonial drums. The sand under your feet is cool, but there's a weight in the air, a hutch, as if even the birds are holding their breath. In front of you, rows of girls, perhaps a dozen, all around your age or younger, stand in linen dresses so white they seem to glow. Their arms are at their sides, eyes straight ahead, but you can tell they're not breathing easy. You're not either. You're here for something no one really explains, just whispers, traditions, and a vague reference to the honor of service. The courtyard is enclosed by tall mud brick walls, painted in faded frescoes of falcons, ants, and blue lotuses. The scent of date wine and old incense lingers faintly. Somewhere beyond the wall, someone is singing softly, maybe a lullaby, or maybe a prayer. It's hard to tell which, and you're starting to realize that here, the two are often the same. A scribe appears. His beard is thin, but his scroll is thick. He wears a leopard skin sash and walks like he's always listening for something just behind him. He calls names, not yours yet. You shift your weight from one heel to the other. Dust clings to your toes. The girl beside you whispers something about being from Memphis, about her mother crying the night she was summoned. You nod, but say nothing. Words feel loud here. You were told this is an honor, to be considered. That's the word, considered. But no one told you what exactly you're being considered for. They just said, walk straight, don't look too eager, and whatever you do, don't frown. You try to smile, but it comes out as something in between a grin and a wince. It's fine, the guards aren't looking at you anyway. Historians still argue whether these selections were truly ceremonial, or if they had a more administrative function like choosing a priestess or an oracle, or maybe just a glorified servant for rituals the pharaoh couldn't be bothered to attend. But the tone in the air tells a different story. This feels sacred and slightly terrifying. A group of priests enters. Their robes are clean, their eyes unreadable. One wears a jackal mask, not decorative, actual carved wood, painted black and unnervingly lifelike. You feel his gaze settle on you. You forget how to swallow. The scribe gestures. 3 girls are led away to a side chamber. You are not one of them yet. You glance at the doorway they disappear into. The torchlight inside flickers like it's trying to warn you. A cat winds through the columns nearby, watching everything with that smug, half-divine expression cats always have in Egypt. It pauses, stares at your ankle, then saunters off. You wonder if that's a sign. An older woman shuffles into the courtyard. Her hands are stained with red ochre, and she carries a shallow bowl of crushed herbs and oil. She walks slowly, deliberately. You watch as she marks the forehead of each girl, including yours, with a faint crescent shape. It tingles, smells faintly of frankincense and something metallic. For clarity, she mutters and remembers. Later, when you lie awake replaying this moment, you'll wonder, was it a blessing, a mark for selection, or something less comforting? You never ask, and even if you did, you get the sense no one would answer. A fringe account from a 19th century explorer describes a similar ceremony. Young girls processed into a temple in silence, selected for their posture, their silence, their resemblance to a lost queen or a forgotten dream. But that might be romantic nonsense, or it might be truer than any inscription. Either way, you're here now, and the sun is rising behind the eastern wall, casting long shadows that look too much like cages. The first 3 girls return, their heads wet and their hair parted with golden combs. They don't speak, they just rejoin the line, eyes straight, feet still. The scribe checks his scroll again, and this time, he says your name. You move forward. The guards don't touch you, they don't need to. You know where to go. Through the arch, down a narrow hall, past flickering torches and a statue of the crocodile god Sobek whose teeth are a little too white. You half wonder if they've been polished recently, which is absurd and somehow very believable. Ahead, a doorway opens onto a quieter room. Less light, cooler air. A priestess waits inside, draped in blue linen and wearing an amulet shaped like a cow's ear. She nods slightly, as if to say, "Yes, it's really happening." You step forward. The room smells like mint, papyrus, and something musky. A shallow pool ripples faintly in the center, and on its surface, flower petals drift like tiny boats. Your feet touch the water's edge. The priestess lifts her hand. Nothing more is said. You begin to understand. This isn't a test you pass. It's one you endure. And you probably won't survive this. Not in the way you walked in. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The priestess gestures. You step into the water. And just like that, your old life dissolves behind you. You're standing still now, arms slightly raised, while three ibis-masked priests circle round you. Their robes are linen, plain but spotless, and they murmur to each other in a language too old for the streets. Their sandals make no sound, and you wonder if they even touch the floor at all. This is the chamber of examination of form, though nobody calls it that out loud. It's the room where they look, not in a leering way, not even in a gentle way. It's more clinical than that. You feel like a piece of pottery being checked for cracks. One priest crouches to examine your ankles. Another traces the air near your collarbone without touching you. The third just stares at your eyes for a little too long. Then he nods once, solemnly, like a man who's seen exactly what he expected to see and is disappointed anyway. You blink. Still no unspoken. Historians still argue whether this process was medical, mystical, or purely symbolic. Some claim it was inspired by mythological purification, while others insist it was about aesthetics and politics. But the way that priest moves around you now, holding up a polished bronze mirror to see the back of your knee, it feels deeply ritualistic, or maybe just absurd. You notice that the mirrors they use aren't perfectly flat. Your reflection warps just slightly, your eyes look wider, your limbs longer, your posture off. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they want to see what you could become, not what you are. A kind of spiritual optical illusion. A small bowl is brought forward by an assistant with a shaved head and a gold hoop in one ear. Inside the bowl are tiny dried beetles, ground scarabs, crushed with turmeric, used to anoint the tongue. You try not to gag as they smear a little paste on your lips. "For truth," whispers the assistant. You don't ask what that means. It burns faintly. You nod anyway. Then, one of the priests pulls out a string with carefully tied knots, 9 in total. He holds it beside your spine and slowly unwinds it as he walks from your neck to your heel, muttering under his breath. You can't help but laugh quietly to yourself. It's ridiculous. This is a holy string, somewhere in the archives. Someone might still call it the knot of measure. Supposedly it tells them if your proportions match those of Hathor herself, which is a lot of pressure to put on a string. They say the ideal candidate must be symmetrical, not just in limb and face, but in mood. No sudden laughter, no twitchy shoulders, no left foot dominance. How that's judged, no one quite knows. But as the priest circles again and jots something on his palm with a piece of charcoal, you're starting to suspect your left toe might have just failed you. There's a noise now, barely a sound. Really, the faintest flap of bird wings. The ibis mask turns slightly toward the source. A breeze brushes the back of your neck. You realize you're sweating, not from heat, just from the stillness. One priest kneels and presents a feather. Not to you, to the room. To Matt, maybe the goddess of balance and truth. He holds it there for a moment. Then he lowers it into a tiny clay jar of oil. If the feather floats perfectly upright, it's considered a good sign. It floats slightly to the left. He shrugs. Not terrible, not ideal. You exhale. In another corner of the room stands a figure almost forgotten in the pageantry. The Silence Keeper. She's the one who records nothing and remembers everything. Her job is to memorize the faces of every girl who passed through here, and which ones passed what part of the inspection. It's said that if you ever tell someone what happened in this chamber, she'll appear in your dreams that night and erase the memory, or replace it with something else entirely. You make eye contact with her. She doesn't blink. You remember hearing that the Silence Keeper herself was once a candidate, chosen long ago but never sent forward. She'd failed some test no one could define. Now she watches others, maybe forever. Maybe she's content, or maybe she's just forgotten how to leave. One of the priests returns with a tray holding for small stones malachite, lapis lazuli, red jasper, and obsidian. He lets you choose one without explaining what the colors mean. You hesitate, then pick lapis, the stone of the heavens, or, more likely, just the prettiest one. He nods slightly and tucks it into a pouch hanging from his sash. He won't tell you what your choice means. He probably doesn't know himself. It's tradition, not science. The inspection ends with a single chime. A priest claps once, and the spell breaks. You step back. Another girl is called in. She's tall, with a long braid and eyes that look like she's already memorized the exits. You don't wish her luck. That feels taboo. You're led back out into the colonnade, blinking against the sun. Your feet now wear soft papyrus slippers you don't remember being given. The courtyard is quieter, fewer girls, or maybe the same number, but ranged differently. The walls seem closer now. You glance toward the temple garden beyond, where palm trees rustle and shadows fall in strange directions. Somewhere inside, there's a pool with crocodiles, and somewhere else, a chamber filled with lilies floating in a pattern only the priests understand. You wonder which room you'll be sent to next. A cat jumps into your lap. No warning, just warmth and the faintest smell of fish. You don't dare move it. That, too, might be a test. You sit very still and wait. You don't wait long before they come for you again. A quiet clink of metal on stone, the swish of linen robes, and suddenly you're being led down a corridor that smells of warm honey and something sharp, maybe vinegar, or sweat masked by flowers. You are not sure which you prefer. The hallway curves, then opens into a room where the light softens. It's not dark exactly, but filtered through a screen of reeds, giving everything a greenish gold tint, like you're underwater or inside a dream you can't quite wake from. In the center of the room stands a long wooden bench, and beside it, a basin filled with lotus-strewn water. On a nearby shelf, combs made of ivory, copper scissors, beeswax, and tiny jars you hope are perfumes. You won't know until they're opened, and they will be. This is the hair chamber. You're told softly by an older woman with gold-threaded sleeves to kneel. She doesn't look at you directly, just gestures at the bench. You obey, because what else are you going to do? Say no. Your hair isn't tied slowly, not yanked, but not caressed either. They comb through it, strand by strand, measuring more than just length. The comb snags slightly at a knot behind your ear, and the older woman clicks her tongue in disapproval. You feel like apologizing for existing. Purity lives in the hair, she says. Not to you exactly, but maybe to the others in the room, or maybe to herself. It's the first thing the gods see when they look down. You're not sure that's true. You're not sure anything is. But still, the scissors come out. Not to cut it all off yet. Just a lock, clipped and dropped into a clay bowl already half full with other girls' hair. They'll burn it later, or maybe bury it. One theory is that they weave it into sacred thread. Another says it's sold to wig makers for upper-class tombs. Historians still argue over this. A girl beside you flinches when her turn comes. She's not used to being touched this way. None of you are, and the touch isn't cruel. But it isn't comforting either. It's practical, efficient, like cleaning a blade or folding linen. Your scrub necks, a sponge dipped in warm water runs over your arms, your back, even the soles of your feet. A priestess mutters a blessing, or maybe it's just a recipe for soap. You can't tell. The words are old, dusty, and bored. They apply something thick and brown to your scalp. It smells like cinnamon, and something more sour turns out. It's a paste made with clay, honey, and goat's milk. To reveal the soul, someone says, "You hope your soul doesn't smell like goat." And now the examination begins. A mirror is held up, bronze, polished, and slightly warped. You're instructed to look at yourself. Just look, not speak, not cry. Just observe your own reflection while the priestess watches you watching yourself. It's a weird loop, and it lasts longer than you'd like. They believe the way you react to your own face says everything. If you flinch, too much vanity. If you smile, too much pride. If you cry, weakness. If you do nothing at all, unreadable. That's either good or terrifying. Neutral is best, the older woman murmurs. Neutral survives. A fringe papyrus from the reign of Thutmose III mentions the trial of the reflected spirit, where girls were judged not just on looks, but on their response to beauty itself, whether they worshipped it or feared it. You're trying to do neither. You blink once. That's it. The paste is rinsed from your hair and replaced with a lotus, maybe almond. It drips down the back of your neck, making you shiver. The older woman notices, gives a faint nod. She likes reactions. Not too big, just enough to know you're still human. Somewhere in the room, incense is lit. You smell myrrh now, sweet and bitter all at once. It makes your head light. The girl next to you is humming very softly, a lullaby maybe, or just to comfort herself. One of the priestesses glares at her. The humming stops. In the back corner stands a wooden rack hung with headdresses, some simple, others ornate. You can tell which ones are for the chosen, and which ones are for display. You're not given one. Not yet. That comes later, if at all. Now comes the final part. The breath test. They lean close and smell your mouth. Yes, really. They believe a foul breath means a foul spirit. There's a theory among scholars that this was also a health check. Disguised as divinity, bad breath meant illness, and illness meant impurity. Makes sense, in a weird, deeply invasive way. Ubas, apparently. The older woman dabs your lips with something minty, coriander and rosewater. Not for taste, just so you'll remember this moment every time you breathe out. You're handed a fresh linen sash. It's pale blue with a golden thread woven down one side. It's not a reward, more like a label. The color signals your group, your phase of evaluation. You wonder how many colors there are. You wonder what happens when they run out. You're not told to leave, but someone opens a curtain and nods once. So you go back into the corridor, where the light looks different now, like it's been watching you, judging you. You run your fingers through your hair. It feels lighter, smoother, like someone else's hair entirely. You pass a girl on her way in. Her braid is trembling, her feet are dusty. She doesn't look at you. You don't blame her. Outside, a breeze lifts your sash and flutters it like a banner. You're not sure whether to feel proud or afraid. Probably both. You're getting used to being pulled along corridors now, gently, but without question. Like a leaf in a slow-moving stream. This next chamber smells curious, like cinnamon left too long in the sun, or honey stirred with something vaguely burnt. The scent gets stronger as you walk, and soon it hits you. You've entered the ointment room. This is where you're prepared, not dressed, not adorned, but prepared. like a goose before a banquet, though hopefully with less roasting involved. The walls are lined with low wooden shelves, each cluttered with bowls, jars, and retrapped bundles. The colors inside range from golden syrup to tar black sludge. You immediately regret breathing through your nose. A priestess greets you with a calm smile and a spoon. That's never a comforting combination. She dips it into a wide clay bowl and lifts out a dollop of thick greenish paste. Protection, she says. You don't ask against what. She gestures to your arms. You raise them obediently. The paste is cool, a little gritty, and smells like crushed herbs mixed with something sharp vinegar. Onion, crocodile bile, could be any oil. Here's the thing. The ancient Egyptians loved their ointments. They had balms for strength, pastes for memory, salves to ward off evil spirits, and goops that did. No one's entirely sure. Historians still argue whether these substances were medicinal, symbolic, or just fancy-smelling placebo potions. But one thing's clear. They believe the skin could absorb more than oils. It could absorb character, fate, even divinity. You're slathered like a sacred loaf. Someone rubs something thick and grainy into your feet. It smells pleasantly of almonds, until the graininess turned out to be crushed beetle shells. You flinch, but the priestess just pats your heel. Strength of the sun. Okay then. Next comes a jar filled with a pinkish soft rose oil and powdered limestone. You've read that this one was used to clarify the aura. You're not sure what your aura looks like right now, but if it needed clarifying, it probably did after that beetle scrub. Then, a bowl of something yellow and sticky. You immediately recognize the smell. Honey. Comforting, until it's mixed with ash and smeared across your chest. To hide your heart from jealous gods, says a nearby acolyte, who clearly thinks this is just a Tuesday. At this point, you're 40% ritual paste, 30% sweat, 20% confused, and 10% clinging to the hope this all ends with a real bath. They make you sit cross-legged on a linen mat while the concoction settles. You are not allowed to speak. One girl once coughed during this part, and they made her start over. You're not sure if that's legend or policy, but you're not taking the chance. You look round the room. Above you, a painted ceiling of blue and gold stars. One of the stars has a small crack running through it. Your gaze sticks there. Maybe it's a good omen. Maybe it's just bad plasterwork. To pass the time, you try to decipher the layout of the shelves. The left wall seems to hold sweet things, lotus balm, fig oil, almond paste. The right wall, that's where they keep the weirder stuff. You spot a dark jar labeled in red ochre script. You don't need to read it to know it contains crocodile dung. Yes, crocodile dung. They really did use it as a contraceptive, mostly, but sometimes in spiritual protection mixtures, not to be applied liberally. You hope. Still, it sits there, radiating ancient menace. A priestess catches you looking. She chuckles. Don't worry, that one's for the men. Good, great. You try not to picture where it goes. A new substance is brought out of fine dust, almost white, in a bowl of polished obsidian. You watch as a girl across the room has it sprinkled into her hair like sugar. Her hair shimmers afterward. Moonlight powder. Someone whispers. Probably crushed alabaster. Maybe mica. Either way, it gives her an otherworldly glow. They skip you for that one. Maybe you already shine. Or maybe you're in the earth category, not sky. You decide not to ask. Hierarchies are forming here, even if no one's explained them. You sense who favored, who's nervous, who'll vanish quietly, and no one will ask why. Finally, the priests re-enter. Their timing, as always, is uncanny. They sniff the air like cats checking if a room is safe. One of them walks slowly past you, pauses, and leans slightly closer. You feel his breath mint and cloves, and then he nods, approved. Maybe there's some and 3 girls away, including the one with the moonlight in her hair. You wonder if that's a compliment or a trap. You're left behind, along with 5 others. All of you half old, half glazed, and fully confused. One of the younger acolytes approaches and offers you a piece of cloth to wipe your palms. It's soft, almost too soft, dyed pale violet. She whispers, "You smell like old gods." You're not sure if that's a compliment either. There's a brief pause. Nothing moves. No one speaks. Then, somewhere down the hall, a gong sounds. Low and slow, the priestesses exhale in unison. Your session is complete. They usher you toward the exit, but not before pressing a small white stone into your palm. It's warm, even though it shouldn't be. Keep this until someone takes it, a voice says behind you. You turn, but no one's there. You step out into the colonnade again, your skin tingling from the ointments, your scalp itchy from rose paste residue. The sun's angle has shifted. Hours may have passed, or minutes. Time is a fluid thing here. You breathe deeply, but even the air feels scented now. Frankincense, cardamom, sweat, and something that might just be destiny. Whatever's next, it's waiting, and it smells interesting. You follow a path paved with smooth stones, their surfaces warmed by the afternoon sun. The heat seeps through the soles of your papyrus slippers as you're led through a garden, where everything grows a little too neatly. The lotus blossoms are spaced with suspicious precision. The palm trees don't sway, they stand, silent, like gods. The temple garden, they told you, was a place for reflection, which is a kind way of saying, this is where girls are watched without knowing they're being watched. There are whispers here, not from the priests this time, but from the other candidates. Not loud, just enough to ripple the reeds and carry through the dry air like secrets wrapped in silk. You find yourself among them now, sitting under a sycamore tree that's older than most dynasties and probably wiser than the priests themselves. One girl, older than you by maybe a year, leans over and whispers. They say one girl vanished after the moon milk ritual. Just gone. You raise an eyebrow, half amused, half alarmed. She shrugs. They say the floor swallowed her, or maybe she passed. A pause, or maybe she didn't. You're not sure what you're supposed to do with that information, so you nod slowly. Like that makes it less creepy. Another girl, hair still damp from some recent cleansing, whispers that one of the priestesses used to be a candidate herself. She didn't pass the silence trial, she says, like she's describing a ghost story. Now she walks the garden alone. You'll see her. You glance down. Nobody's walking. Not yet. Overhead, a bird cries a heron, or maybe something rarer. You don't know your birds, but its voice sounds like a warning. You settle onto a flat stone and pretend you're not eavesdropping. But of course you are. Everyone is, and everyone's saying the same thing, just in different flavors of dread. What comes next? One of the quieter girls finally speaks. She's been silent since the courtyard. They say if the pharaoh dreams of your face, you are chosen before the ceremony even begins. That silences everyone for a moment. Dreams. Apparently, the pharaoh's priests gather nightly to listen to his dreams. Yes, really. They sit beside him in silence, and when he stirs or mutters, they take notes. If he dreams of blood, the next day is delayed. If he dreams of birds, it rains. If he dreams of a girl's face, they start looking for the girl. Historians still argue whether this part of the selection was truly supernatural or simply propaganda wrapped in incense. Some say it was political theater. Others claim certain temple scrolls recorded real instances of dream-selected virgins whose lives changed overnight. Not always for the better. You think about your own dreams. You haven't had many lately. The rooms are too bright, too noisy, too filled with ceremonial oils. But still, the idea that someone else's dream, someone you've never met, might decide your future. It sits uneasily in your stomach, like bad figs. A garden attendant brings water in a glazed jar. You drink cautiously. It tastes faintly of copper and rose, like memory. Another girl dares a bigger whisper. They say there's a secret tunnel beneath the temple. You've heard this one. It's always a tunnel, supposedly. Girls who fail some unwritten test are taken through it, never to be seen again. Or they leave through it to become priestesses in far-off temples. Or they're buried alive. It depends who's telling the story. You look down and notice the stones round the pond have symbols etched into them. Not hieroglyphs older, simpler, circular patterns, intersecting lines. You realize you're tracing them with your toe. You stop. Across the garden, a white cat watches you. Its eyes are pale green, and it doesn't blink. You're starting to think these cats aren't regular cats. They never are in stories like this. One of the girls says, "My aunt told me the temple cats choose who gets through." Another says, "That's nonsense." And a third, much softer, says, "Then why do they always follow her?" She points to a girl sitting near the edge of the fountain, silent, radiant, with a cat curled in her lap. You recognize her. You remember how her bracelet gleamed. She hasn't said a word all day. You try to look away, but the cat turns its gaze on you now. You shiver, even though the air is warm. Eventually, a low chime rings from somewhere beyond the garden wall. Not urgent, not loud, but final. The girls round you stand. You follow. The garden feels different now. Less like a place to rest. More like a waiting room you didn't realize you'd been trapped in. You glance back once at the sycamore. A leaf falls. Maybe that means something. Maybe it just means gravity is still working. You're herded through a stone gate. Narrow and tall. Like the door to a place you might not return from. No one speaks anymore. Even the whispers have died. But one lingers in your mind, hanging there like a curtain not quite closed. If he dreams of you, it's already too late. You don't remember entering the dream hole. You only remember being in it. The walls curve slightly, too subtly to be noticed until you try to orient yourself. The air is cooler here, but not cold cool like something sacred lives in the stone. The scent is heavy with incense, mostly sandalwood and blue lotus, but beneath it, a thin thread of something sharper. Or prophecy. This is where dreams are weighed. Not yours, the Pharaohs. You've never seen him, of course. You probably never will. But he has seen your might. And that might be all it takes. A priest stands at the far end of the room beside a bronze brazier. His robes are darker than the others you've seen, almost the color of dried blood. He holds a long reed pen and writes slowly on a papyrus scroll that glows in the firelight. You wonder what he's writing. Names, symbols, warnings. Round him are the dream readers for older men and women, their heads shaved and painted with fine lines like veins of gold. They sit in silence, hands resting on clay tablets. Each of them holds a stone. Each stone has a name, maybe yours. The girl before you steps forward. Her name is called, but not loudly. It's more of a suggestion, a breeze in the smoke. She moves like someone hypnotized. She stops in front of a low pedestal carved with falcons, kneels and places her hand on it. A reader nods. Another scratches something into clay. The others do nothing. She stands again and is led away. Not joyfully, not in sorrow either, just taken. Now it's your turn. You step forward. The pedestal is warm. You didn't expect that. You press your hand to it and wait. Nothing happens. No thunder, no gasp, no fire. Then one of the readers tilts their head, just slightly, and smiles. Not at you, not really, just to themselves. As if a puzzle piece has clicked into place. They murmur among themselves, just loudly enough that you can't make out the words. One of them says something about the black jackal. Another mentions the shadow. You try not to tremble. You're very bad at not trembling. Historians still argue about these dream ceremonies. Some suggest they were pure theater tools for priests to manipulate power behind the scenes. Others believe the pharaoh was genuinely haunted by visions, and these rituals were a way to manage them. Like ancient therapy with a lot more incense. One even claimed that the dreams were drug-induced lotus and poppy mixed to create visions of the divine. You don't know what's true, but you do know the pedestal felt alive, as if the stone knew it was being touched, or remembered the last girl who pressed her palm here. You're led away, but not yet. Instead, you enter a smaller side chamber with walls covered in paintings. At first, they look like typical temple art lotuses, falcons, but then you notice the faces. Girls, dozens of them, painted in profile, some smiling, some weeping, all in identical poses. You realize these aren't gods, they're predecessors, candidates who are chosen, or not. A small niche in the wall contains bowls of ash and something that looks like dried flower petals. You're instructed to kneel. A priestess new, younger, with a slightly trembling hand sprinkles a few petals over your head. So the gods will find you fragrant in memory, she murmurs. You stare at one of the paintings. The girl in it has your nose. Not exactly, but close enough to make you stare too long. You blink. The petals stick to your eyelashes. The dream chamber is behind you now, but its weight clings to your shoulders. You pass through a narrow hall where no one speaks. Even the air seems to hold its breath. The stone floor changes here, still smooth, but with small indents, like footsteps frozen in time. At the end, a curtain of blue silk is pulled aside. A man in gold-trimmed robes stands there. He doesn't ask your name. He doesn't need to. He holds out his hand. Palm up. A simple gesture. On it lies a fragment of red carnelian, carved into the shape of a small eye. He doesn't say what it means. He doesn't have to. You've heard enough whispers. The eye means the pharaoh dreamt something. Not necessarily you, but something close. A hint, a signal, a possibility. You take it carefully and close your fingers round it. It feels warm, heavy. You're ushered into a chamber filled with sand paintings, ritual patterns drawn on the floor with crushed minerals. You're told not to step on the white spirals, only the blue. You try to obey. You nearly slip. A priestess catches you. She doesn't smile. At the far end, a large bronze bowl burns with slow fire. Smoke rises in lazy curls, dancing into forms you can almost recognize. A bird, a mask, a hand. Another girl arrives. You recognize her. She was in the garden, the one with the quiet eyes and the too perfect posture. She holds nothing in her hands, just folds them and waits. The priests consult their scrolls again. They do not speak. One of them looks at the smoke. He nods. The girl with empty hands is taken first. You are left behind. The carnelian eye still clutched in your palm. No one tells you what that means. Only that you must sleep tonight under the statue of Horus, in the Chamber of Names. You nod. You don't ask questions anymore. As you're led away again, you realize you never actually saw the pharaoh. But maybe he saw you. Maybe that's worse. The Chamber of Names is colder than any place you've been so far. And it's not because of the stone. It's the silence. Not a respectful, meditative silence. A manufactured one, like the air has been trained not to echo. The walls are smooth limestone, etched with thousands of tiny lines, barely visible unless you run your fingers across them, which you're told not to do. Those lines, they are names, not of people, not quite, of roles, titles, versions of self no longer attached to the girls who once wore them. This is the ceremony of silent names. You and 5 other girls are brought in together. None of you speak. At this point, silence feels safer than any ritual. You've learned that the more you talk, the more people notice. And being noticed here is rarely a blessing. A priestess, face painted with ochre and her eyes rimmed in kohl so dark it makes her look permanently wide awake, walks down the line of girls. In her hand is a box, small, made of ebony and mother of pearl. Inside are slips of folded linen. She says nothing, just holds the box in front of each girl. One by one, you reach in and take a slip. You open yours carefully. The linen is stiff, scented faintly with resin and something floral jasmine. Maybe. On it is a single symbol. It doesn't look like your name. Not even close. It's not even a full hieroglyph. More like a fragment part bird, part star. You have no idea what it means. You're not supposed to. This is your silent name. You will not speak it aloud. No one will call you by it. But from this moment, it's how the gods will know you. It's how you'll be written in the secret scrolls. If you ever make it that far, the girl beside you unfolds her slip and stares at it a little too long. A priest notices. Her slip is taken, replaced with another. She doesn't look again. One whisper you'd overheard in the garden comes back to you now. If you hesitate, you lose the name and the chance that came with it. You weren't sure what that meant until now. Apparently, neither was she. You're led to the far end of the chamber, where a large sandstone circle is carved into the floor. Each girl kneels at a point on the edge. The center holds a bowl filled with blue pigment and tiny flakes of gold. A priest dips a reed stylus into the mixture and walks to each of you, drawing a single line across your forehead. Straight, short, right above the brows. Seen by the sun, he murmurs each time. You fight the urge to sneeze. The pigment smells like copper and ash. It tingles slightly as it dries. In the far corner, an older priestess chants softly. The language is old even by temple standards. You only recognize one word, repeated every few phrases. Ren. Name, identity, that which makes you known and keeps you alive in memory. Historians still argue whether this ceremony truly conferred divine protection, or whether it was simply a psychological device to strip away the birth name, assign a ritual identity, control the spirit through language. Maybe it's both, or maybe it's just what they needed to believe. A fringe account from a late Ptolemaic scroll even claimed that these silent names were encoded in the tombs of the elite, buried in secret inscriptions that only temple readers could unlock. Names that never appeared in public records. Ghost names, whisper names. Your knees begin to ache on the stone. You don't dare shift your weight. A breeze sweeps through the chamber. Though there are no windows, the blue pigment on your forehead feels cool now, almost icy. You feel seen, not by the priests, by something older. A priestess begins handing out amulets, simple ones, made of faience, shaped like tiny birds with outstretched wings. To carry your name if your voice fails, she says as she gives you one. You close your fingers round it. The ceramic is smooth, cool, fragile. You wonder how many girls held the same bird. You wonder how many dropped it. How many didn't leave with it. As the ceremony draws to a close, the priestess with the ebony box steps forward again. She holds the box high, then closes it with a click. That sound echoes, the first echo you've heard in this room. It signals the end of the naming. You are led from the sandstone circle into a smaller, spacer chamber of sleep, with mats woven from reed and linen, each one set apart by a small bowl of salt and a burning lamp. You're told to rest. Dream. Let the name settle into your bones. But sleep doesn't come quickly. You lie down on the mat, arms at your sides, eyes tracing the flicker of the oil flame beside you. It sputters faintly, casting strange shapes onto the wall. For a moment, you think you see the bird from your amulet flying across the stone. Then it's gone. The girl across from you whispers not her name, just a breath. You don't answer. You don't want to lose what you've just been given. You hold the amulet close and wonder if you're never called by your name again. Are you still you? You awaken not to voices, not to footsteps, but to the purring of cats. Two of them sleek, silver-furred, sitting like sentinels near the edge of your reed mat, their tails curled around their paws with surgical precision. One blinks slowly at you, the other yawns, showing more teeth than seems strictly necessary. You sit up. The chamber is dim now, lit only by the low, orange glow of oil lamps. The salt bowls beside each mat have been disturbed whether by priest or feline. It's unclear. No one speaks, but you all rise. A priestess waits in the doorway. She wears no makeup, no jewelry, just a linen robe the color of cream, cinched with a cord dyed blue. "Come," she says, and turns without checking if you follow. You do. You're led through a tunnel. This one slopes slightly downward, the air becoming cooler, heavier. You realize you've passed the threshold into another kind of temple, now deeper, more secret. The outer courtyards were for public ritual. This is for those invited inward. Eventually, you reach a chamber that hums with soft sounds, trickling water, murmured prayers, the scratch of reed brushes against stone. In the center of the room stands a statue of Hathor, goddess of beauty, music, fertility, and chaos. A complex resume, but somehow she wears it all well. Her eyes are inlaid with lapis. Her headdress gleams faintly in the lamplight. At her feet, bowls of milk, honey, dates, and unlit incense. This is where offerings are made. This is where you prove devotion. Each girl takes a bowl assigned by a priestess in silence and approaches the statue. You hold yours carefully. It's filled with warm goat's milk, thick and frothy, with a film forming on the surface. The smell is agricultural, but this isn't about pleasantness. This is about reverence and humility. You kneel, not on a cushion, not on a mat, on bare stone, cold and wet in places. You hold the bowl above your head. Your arms ache almost immediately, but no one lowers them. That's the rule. The longer you can hold it, the more sincere your offering, or the more durable your triceps. Historians still argue which mattered more. You start to shake after a minute, maybe less. A priestess walks among you, silently noting who trembles first. You grit your teeth and stare at the statue. Hathor stares back, unlinking, all seeing. When at last you're permitted to lower your arms, the milk is poured carefully into a carved stone trough at the base of the statue. You try not to slosh it. You mostly succeed. Next come the honey cakes. You don't eat them. Of course not. You press them, gently, into a shallow basin beside a seated cat. The symbolism is thick: sweetness, loyalty, nourishment of the divine. The cat doesn't blink, doesn't move. You swear it's judging your technique. Behind you, the other girls are doing the same. One drops her cake. The sound it makes thwop is painfully loud. A priestess appears beside her. No punishment, just a firm, silent hand on her shoulder. She's led away, not harshly, just gone. No one asks where. You're handed incense next. Not a stick, but a resinous lump the size of a peach pit. Probably, or opoponax. You press it into the brazier at Hathor's feet, where it smolders and begins to smoke in slow, blue curls. It smells like something between pine sap and sorrow. The room begins to fill with that scent. It's dizzying, so much so that you start to imagine things movement in the shadows, the statue's mouth twitching, the milk in the trough rippling for no reason. You blink hard. Just the incense. You tell yourself. Just the atmosphere. You kneel again. This time not for Hathor, but for the priests. One by one, they pass behind you, dipping small brushes into clay bowls and painting your shoulders with symbols you don't recognize. You feel each stroke, some curved, some jagged. You imagine they say things like worthy, still pending, give extra onion paste. You'll never know. That's the point. One priest lays his palm on the crown of your head. His touch is warm, dry. You feel it lingering long after he lifts it. The gods have heard your name. He murmurs. You don't reply. You just nod, barely. You're ushered from the room not with commands, but with gentle touches on the elbow, the shoulder. A guide appears and leads you outside. Yes, outside, For the first time in what feels like days, you're back beneath the open sky. Stars blink in the deep violet dome above, and the moon hangs heavy and low, casting a pale glow across the temple courtyard. This is not the main courtyard. This one is quieter, more secluded. The plants here are thicker, wilder, less manicured. A pond reflects the moonlight, and its surface ripples gently without wind. You're told to remove your slippers. You do. You're told to disrobe. You hesitate. Only briefly. The other girls are already stepping into the water. You follow. This is the moon milk. The water is cool, but not unpleasant. It's milky with crushed lilies, pearl dust, and what might be ground marble. Tiny luminous flecks cling to your skin as you submerge. No one speaks, but a priestess chants somewhere above, her voice floating like fog. The water coats your arms, your chest, your face. Your scalp is gently massaged with a soft cloth, spreading something floral and slick. You don't resist. You float, eyes open, staring at the moon. You have expected to blink. A fringe theory once suggested this ritual was meant to simulate death to purify the body as if preparing for mummification, without actually killing you. Others say it was simply symbolic rebirth. The truth, probably somewhere in the middle. You emerge glistening, cold, slightly dizzy, but changed. You're handed a linen robe the color of bone. Your old sash is gone. In its place, a new one striped with gold and indigo. You look down at your reflection in the pond. You don't recognize the girl looking back. And that seems to be exactly the point. You walk in silence, damp robe clinging to your skin, feet leaving faint prints on the stone as you're led from the moonlit garden. The night erupts round you like gauze cool, but not comforting. The temple no longer feels mysterious. It feels sentient, like it knows your name now. Not your real name. That one's long gone. The silent name. The one only the gods and a few scribes are allowed to remember. The path narrows again. You pass between two looming columns carved with faces smiling, but not warmly. A priestess, taller than the others, walks ahead of your group. Her robe sways with each step, leaving a faint scent of bloomer behind her. You've learned to follow scents like that. They usually mean this way, and don't ask questions. You emerge into another courtyard. This one is darker, half enclosed by high sandstone walls, lit only by oil lamps in bronze holders. In the center, a low table. On it, a single object, a polished wooden box. You already know what it is. The bracelet, a golden band, simple and solid, rests inside the box on a piece of dyed linen. It glows faintly under the lamplight. Next to it, two more silver and bronze, thinner, less ornate. You've heard the whispers about this part. The stories told under sycamores and between hair combings. One bracelet, one choice, no explanation. A priestess stands by the box. She gestures, no speech, no fanfare. The first girl steps forward. She's trembling, not from fear, maybe, but from pressure. She reaches toward the box, then hesitates. Her hand moves toward the silver band, but before she can touch it, the priestess gently pushes her hand away. Then she's led out of the courtyard, down a hallway you've never seen opened before. Gone, the second girl is called. She doesn't hesitate. She picks up the bronze bracelet with both hands, bows her head, and places it on her wrist. The priestess nods once. She, too, is led away through a different exit. Now it's your turn. You step forward slowly, every part of your body suddenly aware of itself. Knees, breath, fingernails. You look at the bracelets. Gold, silver, bronze. You know the gold is the path of the chosen, the one meant to remain. The others, servants, attendants, returned daughters with new names and no explanations. The priestess says nothing, just waits. You reach forward. Your hand hovers over the gold. Your fingertips brush it. It's warm. You slide it onto your wrist. It fits perfectly. You glance up, heart hammering so loud you're afraid someone else might hear it. The priestess looks at your wrist, then at your eyes, and she smiles. Not fully, but enough. She lifts her hand and claps once. From the shadows, two figures step forward robed, silent, carrying a cloth canopy on golden poles. You're led beneath it, shielded from the sky, even the stars. One of the bearers whispers something so softly, you are not sure he even spoke. The others behind you disappear from view. You've been separated. You're not told what this means, but you know what it means. You walk slowly beneath the canopy, deeper into the temple's heart. The air grows warmer, not stifling, but sacred. You can smell saffron, melted beeswax, the faintest tang of sandalwood smoke curling from vents in the walls. A chamber opens before you, round and low-ceilinged, its floor inlaid with concentric circles of alabaster and lapis. In the center, a raised platform, cushions, gold-threaded linens, bowls of figs and dates and dried lotus petals. Nothing you're allowed to eat, but beautiful all the same. This is not a throne room. This is a waiting room. The chosen don't just serve, they become. You sit where you're told, hands folded neatly in your lap. Your bracelet catches the light and glimmers slightly. The priestess takes a small stylus and marks the underside of your wrist with red ink, just a line, almost invisible unless someone knows to look. A signal, a registry. You ask nothing. You are learning that questions slow things down. And in this place, slow things get forgotten. The priestess touches your forehead once more, right where the blue pigment dried out earlier. She presses something into your palm, a piece of polished carnelian shaped like a falcon's feather. Your journey is not finished, she whispers, but your name is now written in the smoke. You nod. You don't ask what that means. Of course you don't. Historians still argue whether the selection by bracelet was predetermined or truly spontaneous. Some suggest each bracelet had its own scent, faintly different, meant to lure or repel the girl meant for it. Others claim it was just pageantry, a test of poise under pressure. But here, in this chamber, it feels real. It feels ancient. It feels like someone's been waiting for you for a long time. A girl in a bronze bracelet peeks in from the hall. She sees you. She smiles, but not kindly. She knows what bracelet you wear and what comes next. You wake before dawn, not because anyone tells you to, but because the silence changes. It thickens, presses in, the kind of quiet that creeps under your skin and tells your bones, it's time. Your sleeping mat is softer than the others' goat wool layered with linen. The room smells of old books and warm oil. You've been separated from the other girls since the bracelet ceremony. You haven't spoken aloud since. You're beginning to forget what your voice sounds like. A eunuch enters quietly. You've seen him before then. Older than most here, always carrying a small ivory baton he never uses. He speaks in whispers that still carry across the room. Today is your first day in the sacred hall, he says, then adds, with a dry smile, there are fewer days after this. He gestures to a basin. You wash without question. The water is infused with crushed mint and what smells like barley. No soap, just ritual. Your robe is replaced with a fresh one, bleached linen with narrow vertical stripes in blue and green. No sash. Your bracelet is left on your wrist. He leads you through a long hallway where the walls grow darker. Here, the frescoes shift. No longer of gods and grain, but of people kneeling. Faces have turned, eyes lowered. Girls, women, you wonder how many of them are real. You wonder if your own image is already being planned. The sacred hall is not grand, not what you imagined. No gold, no chorus of priests. It's plain, rectangular, floor of polished basalt, walls carved with nothing but repeating zigzag patterns, waves, maybe, or chaos, or breath. You're placed in the center, standing alone. From the shadows, a voice. You are the daughter of the sun. You are not told to respond, so you don't. The phrase is repeated by another voice, then another, four corners for voices. Each one calls you daughter of the sun, as if trying to teach you something you already know. Then silence. A priestess enters. She wears a headdress shaped like a sun disk flanked by cow horns, the symbol of Hathor. She carries a staff tipped with copper bells that do not ring. She walks round you slowly, eyes never blinking. You have been chosen, she says, not for beauty, not for wit, but for balance. You don't know what that means. No one ever does. She raises a hand, and the eunuch steps forward, holding an arrow scroll. It's blank, or seems to be. The priestess takes it, rolls it open, and places it on a low pedestal. You will learn the movements, the gestures, the stories. You will be watched. You will be remembered, but not named. That last part stings a little. You nod anyway. The training begins. First, the steps. You're taught to walk in circles 7 clockwise, 7 counterclockwise, always ending facing the east wall. If you turn too quickly, the priestess stabs your foot with her staff. Not hard, but sharp. She doesn't use words, just gestures. The eunuch mimics the moves behind her, less gracefully, but more clearly. He meets your eyes once and shrugs, like, yes, it's ridiculous. Do it anyway. Next, the hand poses. Flat palm, upturned, twisted at the wrist. Every gesture means something. Some are blessings, some are invocations. One gesture, left hand raised. 2 fingers touching your own shoulder, means do not follow me. It's used sparingly. Then, the expressions. You must learn to smile without smiling, to weep without tears. The priestess holds a polished shard of obsidian in front of your face as you practice. You start to wonder if she's watching your reflection instead of you. Somewhere behind you, his scribe is recording how long it takes you to master each pose, how often you blink, whether your nostrils flare during stress. You begin to understand how statues are chosen. Historians still argue whether this training was for religious ritual or for something more theatrical performance meant to impress visiting dignitaries. But within these walls, it feels closer to becoming a myth while still alive. After the poses comes the silence. You are led into a dark alcove with nothing but a stool and a single lit lamp. Breathe like stone, the eunuch whispers. And when your mind wanders, imagine the sun. You sit for hours, no sound, just the flicker of the lamp and your own heartbeat, which eventually quiets too. You are not tested, you just exist. And somehow, that's the test. Eventually, you're led back to your room. You eat alone. A bowl of lentils, a wedge of cheese so dry it cracks when touched. Water flavored with crushed pomegranate seed. It tastes red. Before sleep, the priestess visits you again. She brings a single sheet of linen. On it is embroidered the sun disk, flanked by 3 vertical lines. You are to wear it across your chest from now on. It is not a uniform. It is an identity. You do not speak now, she says. Not until you are spoken through. You don't understand. You pretend to. That night, you sleep without dreams. Or maybe you do dream. Of light behind your eyes. Of bracelets heavy as truth. Of words someone else wrote in your voice. You awaken not because you're called, but because the silence has shifted again. And this time, it waits for you. You are not allowed to ask what time it is. Time in the sacred hall no longer belongs to you. The days, if that's what they still are, begin with the same ritual. Waking in silence, eating in silence, and walking the same silent corridor lined with watchers. Not people. Statues, dozens of them. Some are carved in limestone. Others molded from clay and painted with rich pigments now faded into dusty whispers of red and blue. They are all women, all young, all with identical expressions, serene, detached, unreadable. You suspect some of them were girls like you. You hope none of them still are. Today, your bracelet is polished by a servant girl whose eyes never meet yours. She rubs the gold with a cloth soaked in lemon and ash, then kisses the underside of your wrist once before departing. No one told her to. It just seems expected. You're led to the vestibule of echoes and offerings. That's not what it's called officially, but you've overheard the eunuch mutter the phrase. The name fits. The room is circular. Its ceiling domed and painted with constellations. Not real ones, the kind that existed before charts and telescopes. Stars shaped like eyes, suns that weep, a comet with wings. You tilt your head back and feel them looking down. In the center of the room is a stone plinth with a small, shallow bowl on top. It holds water perfectly still. Round it, 6 priests seated in lotus posture, their hands on their knees, their faces turned toward the bowl. Not you. You are told to stand, to speak, but not aloud. Today's ritual is called the offering without voice. It's not a test. Not exactly. More like a confession nobody will answer. You're meant to show your worth through posture, through restraint. You place a small object chosen earlier, in solitude, into the bowl. Yours is a single date seed. The eunuch had offered you a tray of options: stones, petals, feathers, bits of copper, bone fragments. You chose the seed because it reminded you of time, of patience, of how something small, silent, and plain can hold life inside. The seed bobs gently, disturbing the surface for a breath, then stills. The priests remain silent. You bow. One priest blinks. That's it. You are dismissed. Back in the corridor, the floor feels harder under your feet. The silence heavier. The air scented with cumin and aged leather. Someone is roasting barley for a ritual you won't be part of. A young girl passes by you in the opposite direction. No bracelet, no escort. Her hair is unevenly cut and she carries a reed basket filled with folded linens. You realize she's a returned candidate, one of the unchosen. She catches your eye, just briefly. Her expression isn't bitter, it's blank. She's not angry, she's simply done. You wonder what they told her. Probably something kind. They always do. She was blessed, they'll say. But the signs pointed elsewhere. Historians still argue what happened to those not selected. Some say they became temple servants. Others say they were married off to minor nobles, or quietly returned to their families with altered names. But one scroll faded and mistranslated a dozen times tells of a ritual called the Return of the Empty Bowl. A formal, beautiful name for something no one wants to discuss. You shake off the thought. You enter the Hall of Breath. It's not a dramatic place, just a square room with a reed mat and a polished copper wall. You're told to sit and breathe, to watch your own reflection, not to fix it, not to admire it, just to witness. This, the priestess says, is the foundation of the living symbol. You are no longer a girl. You are no longer a name. You are a gesture, a mirror, a vessel, a story retold without sound. You are a symbol of the sun's daughter, and symbols do not blink. You practice the 9 faces, a sequence of expressions meant to represent the stages of awakening. Each is subtle, a slightly furrowed brow, a gaze angled toward the northeast, a faint tightening of the jaw. You are not told what they mean, only to hold them for a count of breath. Somewhere, a priest is watching through a sliver in the wall. Somewhere, someone is writing notes. You do not know what you are being measured against. You only know that each night, when you return to your chamber, you are given a token placed quietly on your pillow. Tonight's is a beetle made of clay, no larger than a fingernail, painted blue. It stares up at you, lifeless and eternal. You fall asleep clutching it in your palm. You dream of the bowl, of the date seed sinking slowly, of the priests who never blinked. You are beginning to lose track of your old self. The girl who arrived barefoot in the palace courtyard feels like someone you read about once. A story, not a memory. Your voice has been folded up and stored somewhere between your collarbones and your silence. Today, You're taken into the chamber of still waters. It's neither a chamber nor especially still. A large rectangular pool runs through the middle, bordered by alabaster tiles, worn smooth by generations of hesitant footsteps. The water moves barely, as though it breathes, slower than you, steadier than any living thing. You're told to disrobe and step in. You do. It's warm, milk warm, tinted blue-green from dissolved minerals and crushed lotus root. A priestess anoints your wrists with oil before you lower yourself. She does not look you in the eye. You've learned that when they avoid your gaze, it means something is changing. Across the pool, other girls stand submerged to their waists. You know their faces, but not their names. Not anymore. You all share one name now. In different bodies. You join them. From the ceiling above, hanging strips of linen sway gently damp, perfumed, casting shifting shadows. They create a canopy of movement over the water. Each time one brushes your face, you feel colder. You are not permitted to speak, but the priestess speaks to you. You are the vessel, she says. Not the wine, not the feast, the cup that must hold still. You nod. Water ripples round your shoulders. The lesson today is entrance without need. You must stand in the water for the length of a song, but no one is singing. The song is played on a single flute, far away, echoing faintly through corridors. If you shiver, you fail. If you sigh, you start again. If you collapse, you disappear. You stand. The water laps softly at your ribs. You focus on the reeds painted onto the tiles beneath your feet, some chipping at the edges. You count the cracks. You count your breaths. You lose track. You stop counting. A memory slips through. Your mother's fingers braiding your hair before a festival. She said, "Stand still or it won't be beautiful." You didn't know she was preparing you for this. Historians still argue whether these entrance rituals were designed to train priestesses in patience or simply to weed out those unsuited to servitude. Some say it was about discipline. Others think it was for purification, emotional, not physical. The flute stops. You step out. The priestess dries you with cloths embroidered in thread so fine you don't feel it. She places a hand on your forehead and whispers, "Stillness is now in you." You nod again. You're guided down a narrow corridor that opens into a room you've never seen before long. Low, lined with shelves of sealed baskets. The air smells like time. This is the Hall of Firsts. You learn this without anyone telling you. The eunuch simply gestures to a stone stool and places a scroll in front of you, a blank one. Then he gives you a reed stylus. You're expected to write. Not words, not stories, movements, the gestures you've learned. The poses, the postures, they must be recorded from memory. A test of body through thought. Your hand shakes slightly at first, then steadies. You sketch lines and curves, crude but accurate. The way your wrist must turn to symbolize mercy. The foot angle for rival. The eyebrow tilt for sunlight accepted. A priest watches over your shoulder, saying nothing. When you finish, he nods once, takes the scroll, burns it. Yes, burns it, apparently. The point wasn't to preserve but to prove. Your knowledge isn't to be written. It must be embodied. You're taken to a new room. This one has mirrors. Polished bronze panels line every wall. No angles, no escape. Just infinite versions of you, all silent, all serious. You practice your expression again. The one with no meaning. The one that must mean everything. You hold your breath. Somewhere behind the mirror, someone is watching. Always. The day ends with a procession, not a public one. Just you and 3 others, walking in single file through the outer temple courtyard as dusk bleeds across the sky. You carry small baskets filled with grain, wool, and salt. You leave one offering at each of 3 stations, the gate of entry, the gate of return, the gate of forgetting. The first 2 are carved in familiar patterns. The third is blank. You hesitate there. The priest beside you places a hand over yours and gently tips the salt onto the stone. Let it fall. he says, and do not remember where. You leave the gate of forgetting behind. But you don't forget. Not really. That night, on your sleeping mat, you find no token, just the silence, and you realize that means you passed. Or it means you've gone too far to turn back. The room they bring you to this time smells of resin, beeswax, and something metallic underneath. Not sharp, like blood. Odor, like rust scraped from the edge of a forgotten crown. You are in the chamber of the feather. The walls are bare except for one thing. A massive depiction of Matte's feather. It's carved directly into the stone so finely etched it seems to float above the surface, despite being rooted in rock. You've passed hundreds of feathers by now. Embroidered, painted, carved, but this one stops you. It hums. A priest stands in the center of the room, beside a low table. On the table, a scale. Real bronze, real balance. You know the story already, every girl does. In the Hall of Two Truths, the heart of the dead is weighed against a feather. If heavier, you're devoured by a monster. If lighter, you pass to peace. Here, though, there is no heart, just a small linen pouch. The priest opens it and spills its contents, dried pomegranate seeds. Exactly 13. You are told to choose one. This is not metaphorical. You reach out, fingers hovering over seeds that all look the same. Smooth, crimson, shriveled like time. You pick one. The priest places it on one side of the scale. On the other, a real feather. White, downy, a little tattered at the edge. The scale tilts, slightly, but not entirely. The priest nods, close enough. He mutters, then gestures for you to sit. This, you realize, is not about judgment. It's about readiness. They want to know if you flinch when the weight of your spirit is questioned. You didn't flinch. You sit. Another girl enters the chamber after you, trembling. Her scale tips harshly. The feather slams upward. She cries. She is not touched. She is not spoken to. She is simply led away, barefoot, robe trailing behind her like shed skin. You do not see her again. Later, you are taken to the Chamber of Mouths. There are no people here, just statues, 6 heads carved from limestone, mounted on pillars of varying heights. All have open mouths. All are female. None smile. You are given a small cup of rose water. You are told to pour it into the mouth that resembles your own the most. This is not vanity. This is identity. You walk slowly, comparing noses, brows, the tilt of lips. You choose the third one from the left. Her expression is tired, watchful. You pour the water into her mouth. It disappears instantly. The basin below is cleverly hidden. You are marked on your palm with red ink. A spell. You are taken to rest. But rest means the Chamber of Dreams. And this time, they want to see yours. You're given a drink thick, bitter, black as ink. Not wine, not tea, something older. It smells like crushed bark and sleep. You drink. The room spins gently. You lie down on a slab of stone. Not a bed, not soft. Above you, stars painted on the ceiling turn slowly, not actually moving. But you feel them shift anyway. The air presses in. You close your eyes. And then, you dream. You're in a field. Not Egypt. Not any place you've known. But familiar. The grass is gold. The sky is dark. The moon watches you. You're not alone. There are figures there, some with bracelets. Some with birds on their shoulders. One has your face but weeps from the mouth of someone else. A voice speaks your silent name. Then you awaken. There is sweat on your brow. And a cat, perched beside your mat, staring directly into your face. You don't move. You wonder if this is the real test. Historians still argue what the Chamber of Dreams was for. Some believe the visions were divinely interpreted. Others claim it was simply a form of hallucination, designed to unlock the mind's loyalty. But those scholars never saw the cat. It stands, walks over your legs, and leaves. Only then are you allowed to breathe again. You rise. You are not told what your dream means. You are not asked. You are simply given a fresh robe dyed pale gold and sent to the next room. The Hall of Whispering Cloth. Here, you are fitted, not for ceremony, not for display, but for permanence. The robe is thin, hand-stitched, and impossible to wrinkle. It slides over your skin like memory. You are told to walk in it back straight, chin level, eyes forward. You do. The priestess circles you. She adjusts your collar. She steps back. You wear it well. She says. You thank her, not with words, but with stillness. You no longer walk with sound. That's not metaphor, it's just a fact now. Your feet land like mist on stone. Your robe does not swish. The bracelet on your wrist doesn't jingle. Even the air parts round you respectfully, as if it knows your presence isn't to be interrupted. You are taken today to a part of the temple you've only heard described in fragments, the Hall of Feasts. But there is no food for you here. The hall is dazzling columns painted with repeating symbols of life and rebirth, garlands of dried lotus flowers hanging like faded blessings. Incense coils above polished platters. The center table gleams under low firelight, inlaid with ivory and electrum. Every dish you've ever dreamed of is here: roasted birds stuffed with herbs, dates drizzled in honey cakes carved with spiral patterns, bowls of pomegranate seeds the color of rubies. But none of it is for you. You take your place at the table anyway. You do not eat. You do not touch. This is the feast of selection, and it is meant to teach you that hunger can be beautiful, that restraint can be holy. You are not alone. 6 others sit beside you, all robed in pale gold, all silent, all wearing bracelets, one silver, for bronze, only one other gold like yours. You glance at her, and she glances back. The corners of her mouth twitch upward. You know that face. You remember the cat in her lap. So she made it too. One priest enters, then another. They do not sit. They stand behind you, watching as the food steams and glistens under the lamplight. You begin to smell individual ingredients: rosemary, coriander, garlic roasted until it nearly turns sweet. You try not to inhale too deeply. Then the eunuch arrives, holding a bowl. Inside, petals soaked in water, gently crushed into a pink pulp. He dips a thin reed brush and paints a line across your lips. This is the moment you understand the feast isn't for your body. It's for your role. You are to look like abundance, sit among it, embody it, but you do not taste it. A servant girl approaches each of you with a small mirror, not to admire yourself, but to check your stillness, to make sure your expression stays serene, not straining, soft, not starving. You pass. One girl with a silver bracelet lets her gaze linger too long on the pheasant. Her hand trembles. The mirror shows it. She is removed quietly, her seat left untouched. You eat nothing, but you feel full. Full of something else: expectation, maybe, or symbolism. It's hard to tell the difference these days. After the feast, you are brought to the chamber of soundlessness. Despite its name, it is filled with noise. Not loud noise, small noise. The shuffle of linen, the crackle of flame, the drip of water from a ceiling funnel that never seems to fill the basin below. You are told to listen, and to identify each sound. You sit, eyes closed, and focus. That is barley being sifted. That is a fire snapping. That is a cat licking its paw. That is your own breath, fighting to be quieter. The priestess says nothing, but when you open your eyes, there is a scarab on the floor. It wasn't there before. You pick it up. Its back is carved with your silent name. You hold it like a question. They call you then to the stone corridor of trials. You were told this would come. You weren't told what it meant. You walk barefoot across a mosaic floor. It's warm, then cold, then warm again. Stonework shaped like waves. Fire, wheat, wind. The corridor ends at a narrow passage, just wide enough for your body. You're told to go alone. No torch, no guide, just walk. The corridor smells of dust and old jasmine. You stretch your hands along the walls, feeling carving faces, symbols, occasionally just cracks. You count steps, lose count. Start over. At some point, the stone dips beneath your feet, then rises again, then twists. You think you're being turned in a circle. Then, without warning, the corridor opens into a small chamber filled with candlelight. On a pedestal, a bowl of water, a single word etched in the rim, remain. You kneel, you stare into the water, and you see, not yourself, but your role, a vision. You holding a fan behind the Pharaoh, you whispering a prayer no one hears. You walking barefoot across temple stones while crowds cheer, never knowing your name. The priestess appears behind you, as if conjured by your recognition. She says, you are now seen, but not known. You nod, she places her hand on your head. The gods choose through the silence. You whisper, I remain. It is the first thing you said aloud in days. She smiles, then you are ready. By now, you know the corridors well, not by sight, but by smell, by sound, by feel. You know which hallway curves near the sacred oil room, where the floor warms beneath your feet from an underground brazier, and where the walls echo just enough to make your own breath feel like a stranger. Today is not about walking. Today is about being placed. They bring you to a final chamber. It has no name that you're told. No window, no furniture, no decoration, only light, filtered from a small opening high above, just enough to suggest the outside world still exists. You are told to stand in the center. The priestess walks round you with a length of linen. It's pale as dawn, with thread so fine, it catches every breath of air. She begins to wrap you, not tightly, not like a mummy, not like a prisoner. Deliberately, reverently, each loop of fabric is placed with the same care a mother gives to a swaddled infant or a scribe to a scroll. Over your shoulders, across your chest, down your arms, down your waist. Every limb becomes part of the ceremony. This is not a costume. It is a removal, layer by layer. What is you becomes quieter, less visible, less specific, until you no longer stand in the center as a girl, or even a person. You become the form, a sacred outline, a living symbol. The final layer is tucked under your chin. You can still breathe, you can still blink, but you cannot move without unraveling. And that's the point. A priest steps forward, one you've seen but never heard speak. He holds a bowl of coal and dips a fine brush into it. He marks your eyelids, your cheekbones, your wrists, just below the bracelet. 3 black dots. He says, this is the moment where you remain, and the rest is carried. You are not told what is being carried. You don't ask. The dots are not decorative, they're anchors. If you falter, if you forget, if your spirit ever tries to drift, you will see them in the mirror and remember. They place you on a low daze, your feet tucked beneath you, arms folded precisely. You are to remain like this until dusk. No food, no water, no visitors, just stillness, just observation, just silence. The priestess places a smaller lamp beside you. She lights it. She says, this is your fire now. It must outlast you. And then she leaves. The door closes. The room is not dark. It glows softly. The linen doesn't itch anymore. You forget how many hours pass. At one point, you think you hear music, a distant drum, or maybe just your own heartbeat. You can't tell. Your eyes burn slightly from the coal, but you keep them open. You are watched. By whom? You'll never know, but you are. And eventually, the door opens again. 2 priestesses enter. They approach in silence. One untucks the linen at your shoulder. The other lifts the bracelet from your wrist. You are not afraid. You are not excited. You are emptied, but in a good way. Like a jar that's been rinsed and placed on a high shelf, waiting. You are led down a corridor so narrow you brush both walls at once. Then you emerge back into the garden. But it is dusk now, and something's changed. The lotus flowers are closed. The cats do not follow you. The sky is gray with the last sigh of sunlight. You are handed a cloak. It's heavy, dyed deep ochre, stitched with small figures in white thread. A sun, a feather, adore. You wear it. They lead you to the sanctuary of names not spoken. Inside, a single slab of sandstone. On it, carvings so faint you must squint to see them. Your silent name is there. You know it without being told. It fits. You place your hand over it. The stone is cool. The priestess says, softly, "You do not serve. You are." Then she gestures to the far side of the sanctuary, where a niche has been carved into the wall. Inside, a statue. It is you, not exactly, but close enough to stop your breath. The angle of the nose, the curve of the chin, the folds of the linen. It's not labeled. It never will be. But it will remain. And so will you. They guide you back into the dusk. You do not ask what happens next. You don't need to. You are already part of what is. The temple has absorbed you, and outside, the world continues, unaware that someone has quietly become eternal. The night stretches long now, and the stars blink slower, softer. You're back on your sleeping mat, or perhaps you never left. Perhaps the entire story unfolded behind closed eyes, a quiet dream whispered between breaths. The voices of priests fade to nothing. The scent of incense dissolves into the air. Even the cats, once ever watchful, have curled into sleep, their tails still, their eyes closed to judgment. And you've done everything you were asked. You stepped quietly. You waited patiently. You remembered not to remember too much. The chamber round you cools, not from stone, but from peace. You imagine the gold bracelet no longer on your wrist, but still shining somewhere. Maybe on a shelf. Maybe in the corner of a forgotten mural. Maybe still warm from the last light of sunset. The silence here doesn't ask anything of you. It doesn't expect movement, or excellence, or even stillness. It only asks that you breathe. And you do, softly, steadily, like waves that never hurry. You don't need to know what happened next. You don't need to know how many girls wore the same linen, or sat before the same feather, or whispered the same silent name into the garden wind. You only need to know you remained. The gods saw you, and in their own strange, ancient way, they smiled. So now, let the hum of the night cradle you. Let the feather rest lighter than thought. Let the moon keep watch, and sleep knowing that your name, though never spoken, was never forgotten.